Hi, NA Physics, it's Mr. Neff. Let's talk about the law of reflection today. Before we do, why don't most people like nesting dolls? I'll tell you at the end of the video. I found this nice simulator from our friends at FET, and it simulates a laser pointer that's shining down on the surface of some water. Now, they will let you change what the material is above the water, and they'd actually let you change the water too. Important thing for us, this surface right here, this place where the air ends and the water begins, is called an interface. And at an interface, we get our boundary behavior happening. Now, you can remember some of this from waves, and it works with light, since light acts like a wave too. Whenever a wave hits a boundary, hits an interface, it's going to get split into two bits. Some of it is going to be reflected back into the first substance. Some of it is going to get transmitted into the second substance. And so if I turn this thing on, you can see that happening. They have this neat intensity meter that you can put up here, and you can say 100% of the light is incident on that interface, meaning it's the part that's coming in. And then there's 5.29% being reflected and 94.71% that's being transmitted. And so, yeah, it is being split into two bits. None of the light's being lost. Some of it reflects back and some of it transmits forward. Now, they have this normal line drawn on here, and that's a very, very important thing. The normal line is the line that's perpendicular to the interface at the place where the light or whatever wave hits it. And so that normal line forms, for today, two very, very important angles. There's this angle that the incident ray makes with the normal line, and we're going to call that the angle of incidence, and I'm going to symbolize that with theta 1 or theta I. And then there's going to be this angle over here, the angle that the reflected ray forms with the normal line. And we're going to call that theta R for angle of reflection. Now you're going to see something here. There's a protractor, and I can put the protractor nicely right there. And so you can see that we have an angle of incidence in this case of something like 45 degrees. Now I can change the angle of incidence here. I could say the angle of incidence is like 70 degrees. Some people would mess up on this and say 20 degrees. They would look down here, the angle between the incident and the interface. We don't want that angle. We want from the normal line. Now I want you to see something. As I'm changing this angle of incidence, I'm also changing this angle of reflection. You might be also distracted by this angle of refraction down here too, and that's going to be the topic for a different video. But for this angle of reflection, I'm changing the angle of reflection by as many degrees as I'm changing the angle of incidence. And in fact, whatever I set the angle of incidence on, let's say I set it on 35 degrees, look at that. The angle of reflection is going to be on 35 degrees too. In fact, there's no way for me to make the angle of reflection any different than the angle of incidence. And that was noticed a long time ago, that you're always going to have that. That doesn't matter if you're reflecting off of water, or if you're reflecting off of glass, or if you're reflecting off of mystery substance B. It doesn't matter. Any of these angles of incidence are always going to match the angle of reflection. So just so we can make sure we have all of that in our notes, here comes our incident light. Here's our reflected light. And this part down here, it's not really the topic of today's video, but this is our transmitted light. Talk about that a different day. This line right here is the normal line, and it is perpendicular to the interface, that place where the medium ends or changes. Here, air is ending and water is beginning. This angle right here, between the incident light ray coming in and the normal line, we're going to call that theta I or theta 1 for the angle of incidence. And this angle over here, we're going to call that theta R for the angle of reflection. This angle down here is important for later too. We'll call it theta 2 for the angle of refraction, and that's going to be the subject of a different video. You can see then that that law of reflection says that that angle of incidence and that angle of reflection are always going to match each other. Here you can see a nice photograph where we have our normal line coming right down there, And I'm not sure which way this light is moving. Let's just assume it's moving from left to right, which that's often the way that it is. And so we'll say this is our theta 1 and this is our theta r, and those two are equal to each other. Here's a quick little example, and it says that we have a incoming light ray coming off of an object. And so that light ray is going to continue to move in a straight line, and it's going to do this, 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 this. And so it asks, after it reflects, which one of those spots is it going to reflect through? Well, the normal line is going to look like this. And then the light is going to reflect off of here, and since it's cutting right diagonally across each one of these, it's going to go like that. And so there's our path of our light, and so it's going to go right through C. Why? Because that angle of incidence and that angle of reflection have to match each other. Incidentally, with a mirror, some of the energy moves into the mirror too, but because the light cannot travel through the mirror, then it ends up being turned into heat. Now, depending on what you're reflecting off of, the light rays may stay parallel after they reflect, or maybe they won't. So say here comes a bunch of light rays that are coming off of an object. Maybe it's a big light bulb or something like this. And here comes some incident light rays. Now, depending on what they hit, in the left picture, they're hitting something that's nice and smooth and flat. And because of that, all the normal lines are all parallel with each other, and so the angle of incidence, the angle of reflection are all the same, and so they came in parallel, they go out parallel. We have a name for that. We call that specular or regular reflection. Now, if you hit something that's irregular, like this might be a surface of a rough road, well, because it's rough, all of the normal lines will be all over the place. They're going to be perpendicular to the little spot of the surface that they're coming out of. And so you can see what the artist did here. They drew these normal lines always perpendicular to the little spot of the surface. Now, the angle of incidence still always equals the angle of reflection, but the angle of incidence isn't going to be the same for each light ray. And so the angle of reflection isn't going to be either. And so they're going to go all over the place. We're going to call that diffuse or irregular reflection. Now, there's a couple examples of that, and if you're on the lookout for it, you can see it all the time. This is a picture that I took at North Park one day. This was a rare day whenever there was no breeze. The water was just perfectly calm. And if you've ever been here, you know that, especially over here, this is kind of neat. There's a tunnel right there, and the surface of the water just comes along here like this, and this is a real tunnel. Now, it doesn't seem it though. It seems like there's a hole going right through there because of the regular or specular reflection. It's the light rays are coming in and they're staying parallel, and then they're reflecting and they're staying parallel, and so you get this really nice clear image. On a normal day, the same spot looks more like this. And so there's waves all over here. And so the light rays are still coming down off of that tunnel like they were before, but they're not staying parallel with each other. And so you don't get an image. The image is all there, but it's all jumbled up. And so this picture over here is that diffuse reflection, where this one over here was that specular reflection. This is where driving at night is sometimes not very pleasant. So on a normal dry night, the light comes out of your headlights and it hits the road. And I'm not going to say it's parallel, but it's basically parallel. Now, some of that light is going to be reflected well all over, and you might say, well, that's not a good thing. It actually is, because the only way you're going to see something is if light from it gets back into your eye. So you're turning on your headlights and you're hoping that some of that light returns to you. The light that doesn't return to you doesn't do any good. And so if this is irregular, well, some of the light's going to go forward, some of the light's going to go up, but there's a chance that some of that light's going to come back and get you in the eye and you'll be able to see it. Now, you take a wet night though, and there's a little skin of water all over that. Now this is exaggerated. This might just be, who knows, 100 atoms thick or something like that, but there's a little bit of water over top of that. Well, now what used to be an irregular surface is now a really smooth one. And so all of your light rays are going to come out parallel, and it's going to be difficult to get any of that light to come back into your eyes. And so it's going to be difficult to see when you're driving at night because of the specular reflection. So the picture looks really nice to those of us who like order and geometry and so forth, but that's what makes driving at night not very fun. My last example is a picture that I took when I was at one of our hockey games, and they were Zamboniing the ice in between periods. And so I noticed that when the ice is nice and dry, it just looks white. But whenever the ice has its thin skin of water over top of it, now you get a nice reflection. So look at what's happening in this area right here. You have these signs over on the boards, and the light's coming down from the signs, and it's hitting the ice. And where it's hitting the wet ice, it's reflecting up, and those images are staying as images, and so you can see what's going on there. Well, so look at this thing. You can see that we see it up to about there. What's going on with the light that's carrying the top of that? Well, it's going all over. It's reflecting, and since it's hitting an irregular surface, it's not able to stay as an image. And so it's here in the wet ice we see specular reflection, but in the drier ice we see diffuse reflection. And lastly, why don't people like those nesting dolls? They're full of themselves.